What is up, home brewers? Welcome to our 49th episode of Brew Talk with Mr. Beer. My name is Robert. I am your host for today's show. Once again, filming from a remote, undisclosed location. We appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. As always, can't believe we're 49 episodes in. The big 50 coming next week. I think we're going to do something cool, but I have no idea what it's going to be yet. So I'm going to reference my notes through this topic, but before we get started, I'd probably tell you what it is. So it's 3 ways to prevent darkening beer when brewing with malt extract. I think this is a common question that we get pretty often. People asking, why is their beer darker? Their beer is darker than what it should be, or this beer just is darker than what I expected. It's something we kind of see quite often. So we did do a previous video, me and Zach did one when we talked about why brewing with malt extract makes your beer darker, but there's a few things you can do to kind of prevent that from happening. So I have it listed out in my notes here. I'm going to reference them a little bit because I don't have it memorized, so please bear with me. Also, please bear with any traffic driving behind me, as I cannot control the situation of the flow of traffic behind my house. Okay, so actually we talked about in a previous episode, so if you want to know why brewing with malt extract makes your beer darker, go check out that episode. It's pretty cool, pretty interesting stuff in that one. So malt extract, in particular liquid malt extract, is just known to create a darker finished beer because it's a concentrated ingredient through the brewing process. So basically, how malt extract is made is that you get your wort and then it concentrates it down into like a molasses type syrup, and then you're able to brew from there. So what we're doing by brewing with malt extract is taking 6 hours out of the brewing process, a ton of extra equipment, a lot of different processes involved, and also it removes a lot of errors that you can have with the brewing process. I mean, brewing is difficult as it is, and when you factor in more complicated processes and temperatures and transferring all these different things, it opens up just a huge vacuum of errors and infections you can get, stuff like that. So it reduces the risk associated with that. Like I said, malt extract makes it easier to brew, reduces the time intensive process. It takes you, if you're brewing a standard refill, you can brew one up in 30 minutes. If you're brewing some of our longer recipes, it can take up to an hour, maybe a touch longer. But it's pretty straightforward. We have a lot of new people, so I thought it would be good to talk about real quick just how our extracts are made. So we're owned by Cooper's Brewery out of Australia. They are the largest family-owned brewery in Australia. They've been around for over 150 years. They got into home brewing in the 70s. They're the biggest producer of malt extract for home brewing, and they're known quite around the home brewing industry as having the best quality malt extract. I think that's due to their processes that they use and the controls that they use. And they control the entire process from the grains in the field to the malting of the grains to the mashing, steeping, the hot boils, the brewing, and they use a low temperature evaporator with kind of a vacuum on it that reduces that pulls out the water and gets the extract that you get in your awesome Mr. Beer can. A fun fact for those wondering, when they're brewing up batches at the brewery, so they get to the wort stage, and that's where the wort is condensed. But oftentimes what they'll do is they'll take some of the wort that they're using to make malt extract cans and they'll pull some off to the evaporator line, and the other half of the wort will go over to the brewery. So the stuff that they're using to brew their commercial beers are the same things that you are getting in your can. So that's pretty cool. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that, all right, 3 tips now. Sorry, I got ahead of myself there, didn't tell you what I was doing. So we got 3 tips now to prevent darkening that we're gonna get into. So the first one is do not caramelize partially dissolved malt extract. So when you pour your malt extract into hot water, it does not dissolve instantly, as I'm sure most of you know. You gotta mix it up very thoroughly. You gotta really get the motion going in there, because it's just like mixing up maple syrup and water. Sometimes you can get these small kind of blobs that will kind of sit on the bottom of your pot. So if your pot is really, really hot, or you kept it on the heat and you're doing that and you're not mixing up fast enough, those blobs can kind of caramelize, and that can darken your beer, because anytime you're boiling anything with malt extract, it's just going to get darker. So that's why we always recommend that before you add your can of HME or any LMEs, remove the pot from heat and then add it into that water, and make sure you're mixing it thoroughly, pouring with one hand, mixing it with the other, making sure put your beer down for a second, and do that. It'll keep your beer lighter. Also, number 2 is if you're going to do like a partial mash, or you want to do like a hot boil or anything like that, make sure you're using DME or some type of steeping grains. Boiling LME, like I mentioned earlier, just makes your beer darker. So you can notice with all of our recipes where we try and keep the color integrity, we will boil in booster, which we've done before. We did a video about that. We will boil with, or we'll use steeping grains or specialty grains, and we'll do a hot boil from there, or we'll do a DME and then we'll do a hot boil from there. So using things like that, they won't really darken your beer all too much, and it's a really good way to kind of keep the lighter colors with adding more hops and more other things like that. But you want to make sure that, 1, never boil your HME because it's already been pre-boiled, so we get a terrible beer, and 2, if you are boiling with LME, your beer is going to be darker. That's just kind of the name of the game. And lastly, you should make sure that your extract is fresh. We always try and get the fresh-rated product to you guys. If you bring with an old can, I think we get this, a lot of people get old cans, they find one stashed away, they find someone giving some away at a garage sale or something like that. If it's old, the beer is going to be darker no matter what. Malt extract gets darker with age. It's just part of the process that happens. So if you're brewing like a lager, Classic American Light, Pilsner, Canadian Blonde, the wheat beer, they're going to get dark over time. If you're brewing a stout, Oktoberfest, an amber, something like that, you're not going to see the difference because it's already a dark beer. But just keep that in mind. If you're brewing with an older extract, it will be darker. So you want to make sure that, just be aware of that, not much you can do about that. So make sure it's always fresh. If you do have an old can, we always recommend getting a new packet of yeast to set you up to make sure your yeast is fresh. So that's going to wrap it up for today. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, thumbs up, do whatever you need to do for whatever platform you are on. We post this on our YouTube page, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and on our blog page, mr.beer.com/blog, where I will have all my notes at as well, so you can reference those if you don't want to listen to me talk. You can go and read it and get all the information that you need. We will be back next week with a special 50th edition of Brew Talk with Mr. Beer. I am not sure what I'm going to do yet or what we're going to talk about, but we will try and make it fun and entertaining and maybe do something cool. I don't know, you just have to tune in to find out. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Hope you guys are all staying safe out there. Make sure you keep brewing some awesome beer. You know, it's a great time to get into home brewing and brew some amazing recipes right now. Sorry again about the traffic. I hope you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.